Hello, everybody. I am popping in for our LinkedIn Live this week, and I am really excited about today's topic because it is the blending of the hybrid office kind of setting from working from home to going back to the office to having a blended meeting and that sort of thing. And some of the observations that I'm making from talking to individuals about the struggles that they are having, as well as the questions that they have about body language and how to navigate this, dare I say, new normal. I am Alison Henderson, and my company is Moving Image Consulting. And I love to talk about body language and communication and presentation skills. And our presentation skills, our natural body language habits may have changed over these last 2 years when we were working from home. You may notice that people coming back into the office that you knew really well, that your colleagues don't seem quite like themselves. And that is because we had this couple of years of relative isolation or wearing different hats during the day, not just our corporate hat, but the mom hat with the kids home from school, or dual incomes, trying to find and negotiate space in the home in order to have their meetings. There was so much going on that it has actually affected us, and it may take a little bit before we go back to the habits or the nonverbal communication that you were used to seeing from your colleagues, and it may never go back. So I thought I would address 3 different things that you can look for in your offices, or things that will help you with this transition. And number 1 is the way that Zoom meetings have evolved is to make them shorter, make them more of the in and out kind of meeting. And this is not the same as the bringing everybody into the conference room table, what I like to call kind of breathing meetings. There's a little bit more grace to perhaps starting a couple minutes late, perhaps if everybody's having good conversation. Not that you are allowed to be tardy or late, but just that the meeting doesn't get started necessarily agenda-wise right on time, because, excuse me, hiccups. We'll see if they continue through this whole thing. Oh, goodness. Where was I? The breathing meetings, where there's a little bit of time beforehand, there's a little bit of time afterwards where people are conversing and catching up on one another and that sort of thing. We kind of lost that. We were encouraged for a while to keep that time in there, and then it became, oh no, Zoom fatigue. You need to end your meetings early and let everybody go. And we lost that social time. So that is one thing to be aware of if your in-person meetings are still kind of in and out. And that might have been your culture ahead of time. And if that was your culture before and you want to go back to that culture, that is certainly fine and up to you. However, if you come from that culture where it's a little bit more fluid and people enjoy that time of getting to know one another and grabbing their coffee and maybe a Danish before the morning meeting, and then they all come in and they sit down, just be aware if you've cut that off because of the way things have gotten on Zoom. You might want to go back to a little bit more of that. The other thing that I encourage the leaders that I talk to practice is to be transparent and to say what you see. If you are noticing that everybody is super tired and the energy is way low, say it. Don't necessarily put it upon yourself to have to carry on and raise everybody's energy levels. Take a moment and stop and say, hey, I notice everybody's kind of down today. What's going on? There's a different type of fatigue because people are getting up earlier in order to do their commute, in order to get ready to come into the office. And maybe that is a struggle for them right now. Maybe they're having a little bit of trouble going back to finding people to drop their kids off and pick them up after school and those sorts of things, because now they suddenly can't do it themselves. So just be aware of what it is and say what you see. If things are awkward because nobody knows whether they can shake hands or whether we're fist bumping or whether we're hugging now that we're back in the office, say it. Well, things are a little awkward now that we're back in the office. I want to see what everybody's. There, we're back. Comcast is coming, or Xfinity or whoever is coming on Friday to hopefully fix this once and for all. The third thing that we were going to talk about is the range of comfort and or acceptance by the people on your teams now that you've gone back to the office. Some people really do not want to come back to the office, and because they've gotten used to dropping their kids off and picking them up from school or eating at home, or maybe they just enjoy the solitude. Maybe they don't really like the chit chat and the extra time that they feel like they're spending in the office in outside conversations. And there are a lot of people that feel that way. We got very used to not having to do that. And there are other people that are like, thank goodness I get out of my house. I get to wear clothes again. No more pajama bottoms or yoga pants. I can drive. Maybe people, missed not necessarily the traffic, but maybe they missed that drive time that they had, that solitude, half hour, 45 minutes, hour plus, depending on where you are, of alone time in the car with their music. So there's going to be a range of people's comfort level with being back, just physically being close to one another and being in meetings where we're breaking that 6-foot rule and all of that, which we've kind of been addressing. But there's also going to be the level of acceptance of having to be back in the office, because there are going to be some people that are thinking this meeting could have so been done on Zoom. Why am I here today? Or why can't I put all of my clients on Tuesdays and Thursdays and work from home Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Depending on the arrangements from coming back into the workforce. And maybe you are in the midst of negotiating that as well. And that is something to be aware of as a leader or a manager who on your team has already made those arrangements and who is still negotiating that with human resources or whomever. So those are some things to think about. And it does relate to body language because you're going to be seeing it in your teams. And one of the things that you are going to need to be really aware of as we come back into the office is the stress that you see on your teams. And that's what we're going to be talking about next week on Wednesday at 8 a.m. I am thrilled to announce that my guests are back, and we are going to be doing a LinkedIn Live with special guest Irene Salter. And she is a neuroscientist. Woohoo! I always talk about neuroscience, and now I'm bringing one in to really talk about the brain connection to stress and stress resilience. And I am super excited. She's a fantastic woman, and you were going to love hearing from her. And her techniques are things that are very actionable. So I know you're going to love having Irene on. You're going to have to watch at 8 a.m. or make sure that you mark your calendar to go in and find my live later, because this is going to be an early one, 8 a.m. on Wednesday, a week from today. All right, everybody, what else has been happening? I recorded the Brokerpreneur podcast this week, which was super fun with Matt and Ben were my two hosts for that podcast, and we talked about body language and retention of your staff and hiring and sales. It was a really great conversation. I'm excited to see how they cut that and how it turns out. So I'll definitely let you know when that goes live. Other than that, we've just been moving and grooving this week. I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. for Irene when we get into that stress resiliency, which we're hearing a lot about stress. We've been hearing about stress. It's definitely a part of our lives and something that we need to learn to mitigate and to lessen and to deal with. Because if we don't, we know that's detrimental to our health. So join me next Wednesday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Okay, everybody, have a great rest of your week. Comment if this was of interest to you or other things that you want me to talk about, and we'll start a conversation. Find me, connect with me on LinkedIn. Make sure that you're checking out the YouTube channel and subscribing to that too, because other stuff appears there all the time as well. Have a great day, everybody.